Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I'm Joe Panther III, and man, today I'm going to add this young lady to the awesome wall of fame of ring announcers that have come on the podcast the past 4 years of this awesome podcast that I started in last March or whatever March it was, 4 years ago in March. Man, let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to a lady from the down under. It's Gemstone. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Gemstone, and welcome to Dudes at Ringside.
Awesome. Welcome, Gem. So, when did you get to start in the professional wrestling business?
So just under 4 years ago, surprisingly. I've been a lifelong wrestling fan, but I kind of fell off watching WWE around the sort of 2010s, and I only really got back in around sort of 2019. A friend of mine was talking about wanting to do a podcast regarding wrestling, and he's a new fan. He only got introduced to the Feds when Super Showdown in Melbourne. So he got in through that. So he's a very new fan, and me being an old school fan, and all of my favorites coming back into his era. Perfect podcast, perfect connection.
I get happy out one day. Need someone the old guy in the room be like, that's wrong.
Absolutely. I did a lot of that.
In an episode, I could be like, I remember when the Garden was a hot place to go to in America.
That's basically what I do now, but back in my day of wrestling. But so
turn out the water will look like the two old men on the balcony in the Muppet Show.
Absolutely, that'll be us. But so that sort of took off, and we ended up doing interviews when WWE came down to Melbourne. Our most prevalent one is with Kofi Kingston. If you look up The Young and the Restless, Kofi Kingston, we got to interview him, which was really freaking cool. And that led into us finding out about MCW and going to live shows. And when I started going to live shows, an old friend of mine was like, hey, I run a promotion here in Melbourne. You should come hang out. And that happened to be Deathmatch Down Under. I went to a show. I started helping with chairs, and it just went from there.
There was a wrestler that we had back in the day. I don't know if he's still in the deathmatch scene, or is he left, because I haven't seen him on Instagram, and his Instagram went inactive on our page. The Deathmatch Chicken.
Oh, I don't remember.
Do you remember him?
No, that was before my time.
Well, ask around. He came on Dudes at Ringside back in the day, and I click his Instagram, gone.
Nothing. Yeah, I'll have to look into that for you, because I genuinely don't know. That was a bit before me.
Maybe something happened and he didn't want to talk to us anymore. He changed. When you change the name of your Instagram, your @ goes caputos unless you change it.
Yes.
On the fly.
Yeah.
So as being a ring announcer, do you ever have to go to the whole roster and see if there's any name changes or stuff like that?
Personally, I do, because a lot of, especially in the Melbourne Indies at the moment, a lot of our wrestlers are really putting in the work to look the part. So there's lots of changes. I do a very WWE style announce. I do weight, hailing from, and their name. So very WWE-esque, very put together. So I always go and double check and make sure that the weights haven't changed, because obviously as their journey changes, their weights are going to change. Sometimes, depending on the match, opponents, they want to sell a little bit, hype it up a little bit, make some silliness out of it. So, you'll get different hailing froms and things like that. I think I like to check with everybody every night just to make sure that that I'm helping them telling the stories that they want to tell, because as a ring announcer, I am their voice first and foremost. Unless they're cutting promos, I'm the voice. I'm the one that's there putting them over. So I want to make sure that I'm checking in with them every night, putting them over the way they want to be put over. Really making their show more.
Yeah, like with you being a ring announcer, do you ever have to like go for training because you know that there's something gonna happen in the ring, you're gonna get in the middle of it?
I started training, surprisingly enough. So I came into it with a bit of a head start. A lot of people get in and they start these sorts of roles without having any idea of what's going on. I knew when I started that I wanted to be a wrestler, but life circumstances have delayed that. So this is sort of my, I guess, middle ground for that while I'm preparing to get back into ring. So, yeah, I've come into it with a bit of a head start, luckily. I'm also in a position where I'm a general manager for a Adrenaline Pro Wrestling Breakout, which is our like rookies division. So I general manage that as well. I've also started doing valeting, so accompanying people to the ring and that sort of thing. As I guess I wholly believe that you've got to try a little bit of everything to understand the industry properly. And that's why, yeah, I started training and then ring announcing followed after the training happened. And then it's just kind of, like I said, it's just kind of been a really nice spiral. I've just been really lucky to come in the way I did and just sort of fall into this. Like I literally fell into ring announcing. I was helping with Ring Crew one day at a show and they said last minute, we don't have a ring announcer. Do you want to give it a go? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it wasn't exactly a well advertised show. It pulled maybe 20 people, but I was like, this is a perfect way to get a feel for this. So I did. And then the following week, I went to Adrenaline Pro Wrestling to just suss out what the vibe was about, maybe get my name out there, see some more companies, because I was very new at this point. And I was sitting outside talking to another talent. And I had one of the production managers walk up to me and he dropped the run sheet in my lap and a pen in my lap and he started laughing. And I looked at him confused and he just goes, have fun. And I was like, what? And he goes, you're announcing tonight. And I was like, I'm what? And I just got thrown in the deep end to announce. And I just took the microphone and ran with it.
So like when you're like a manager, have you ever gone back and watched the Sherrys or like the Elizabeths or the Bobby the Brains? Like who do you like mostly you focus your energy on? Like if you have a spirit stick, who do you focus your energy on to get their energy for the night?
This is going to sound really, really silly, but this is sort of the reason I got into ring announcing in the first place. Growing up in my era of watching wrestling, Lillian Garcia.
I love
She
Lillian.
did it all. She did it all. Ring announcing in the middle of the show, storylines with Viscera and things like that. When I say to everybody when I go out to the ring, I'm living my Lillian Garcia fantasy and I channel Lillian when I go out there.
And then do you ever think about, man, if I could sing, I'm gonna sing the national anthem in the show. In the middle of the show, they just break out.
I used to sing when I was younger. No, not here. It's not a thing here, thankfully.
Yeah, cool.
But
what like I never heard the national anthem from Australia, so I never heard
it. Yeah, it's not as pretty as the American one, so we just kind of don't.
Let's just go sing it, and then this video gets copyright strikes because it starts singing. So because the actual fun fact, did you know the Happy Birthday song? If you put it on a video, you can get a copyright strike.
I did not. Are you serious?
Yeah. Look it up. Google it later on after the podcast. Just Google.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. That's so stupid.
Yeah, because that's why on Instagram I get worried when I put the Happy Birthday song by what's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on little Stevie Richards. Stevie Richards. Stevie Wonder. Stevie Richards. Oh no,
that would be funny though.
Yeah, he probably like, happy birthday to you because he has a scratchy voice.
Yeah.
Right, the censor, be like, censored that. There we go. That's literally who's doing the censors. Like, yeah, I'm afraid every time I put happy birthday for a wrestler, like if it was Gemstone's birthday, I'd be like, not doing
Nope.
it.
Yeah,
Not doing
that's
it.
so silly.
Yeah, YouTube
Ridiculous.
is really strict. Like me and
Yeah,
my buddy
copyright
Rain at
is
that
bad.
yeah, my other podcast I do called Ghost Head Nerd Talk. I do it with my buddy Rain. Um,
Mhm.
we were doing a review of the last Ghostbusters trailer for Frozen Empire. And we were watching it live, watching the last trailer. And Rain didn't know what I was doing, so I had it on mute on my end, so you can't hear the sounds. She didn't know, so she pushed the button. She's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I was going, and I caught it as the like in the middle of the sentence, and I was finding we got 100 views. And then the next day, I woke up to look on my end on the YouTube Studios. I don't know if you have that on your phone. YouTube Studios. It's another app for
No.
YouTube that makes you feel like so nervous.
Yeah.
I look at it and it says copyright underneath the video. I was like, no, so
Oh
I just like couldn't,
no.
couldn't edit it. I had to delete the video. And Rain's like, I'm like, Rain, we had to delete the last video. She's like, that was the video for the trailer. I was like, yeah, you kind of touched the wrong button, didn't you? She's like, I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. I apologize. I'm like, I can't hate you, Rain. She's like, I know, but why? I'm like, because without you, Ghost Head Talk would be dead.
Yeah.
She's my
Oh,
buddy.
that's. I have heard YouTube has really, really strict copyright stuff now, and it's
Yeah,
just
and there's an episode that I did with a female wrestler from over here called she probably would fit in for a death match down under. Um Jules Malone,
okay.
Jules
Yeah.
something. She stapled another woman's meow mix to the ring, and
Oh. Oh.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
and I was sweating bullets when I load that video on YouTube.
I
I
bet.
didn't even look at the copyright. I didn't even look. I was like, just load it and put the date. Yeah, and I was going, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going,
Yep. Out of
I was like,
sight, out of mind. If I can't
I
see
was
it, it's
like,
not
and
there.
when the video loaded, it got a lot of views, and I just forgot. And then it went back like months later, and I was like, still no copyright. Server's still good.
Perfect. Perfect. That's what you want.
YouTube probably went, it's not like he showed it. Okay. He didn't show the clip. He
Exactly.
didn't show the clip.
Good.
It's like the angry
Smart.
producers. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, like, when you say you like the old school stuff, like Mr. Old School, what matches would come like if I had to do a top 10 of like your all-time favorite matches, including Golden, including
Ooh,
Attitude, including the Ruthless Aggression era, which
question.
matches would be your favorite matches of all time?
Well, as silly as it's going to sound, the thing that really hooked me in wrestling was watching John Cena's debut when he walked out to Kurt Angle and screamed ruthless aggression. That is always going to be number one because that was my I like this moment. Even though it wasn't exactly anything special, that's always going to be number one for me. I think anything that Trish and Mickey James pulled out or Trish and Lita pulled out, I absolutely love. They were my formative. They were the women that I idolized, the women that I looked up to, the women that I wanted to be in wrestling. I think it's hard because I like a lot of matches. I see the beauty in the story and everything. So it's more so groups of stories that I think are like where it's at for me. Um, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and TNA was
Ooh.
banging. Yeah, I used to love Joe Angle. What else? Um, Big formative matches for me. I would have had to properly prepare for this. I haven't. My brain's fried from the
I
weekend,
just
so I
throw
haven't
this
really had a
question out
think.
there all the time, and I always
Yeah,
forget. People, I don't plug them that I'm doing that one. I just think, okay, there's a lot of wrestling fans that are either in their 20s or 30s that I talk to, and they're gonna give me John Cena. They're gonna give me like Kurt Angle if he was around yet. And I'm old, so I always toss in the Hogans, the
yeah.
Warriors, Hogan, Macho, like stuff like
Actually, I do
that.
have
Like,
one for you. One that I
okay,
always go back to. I always go back to Bret Hart, Owen Hart, WrestleMania. That match
yeah,
is that opening match of WrestleMania. I can't remember. Was it? No, I can't remember which one it was.
I thought
but
it was
I
10.
always go
It was 13.
10. I
Was
think
it?
so. Yeah, I think it's between 10 and 13. I thought 12 for some reason, but I think it's 10. I think you're right. I think it's 10. They're the opening match, Owen Hart, Bret Hart. That match is second to none. That is
It
one
was at
of
the
the most.
Garden, right?
Hey,
Was it at the Garden?
I can't remember. I think it was. If I remember off the top of my head, it was, and it was phenomenal. Like it was just a proper grudge match. There was so much story, there was so much emotion. It was real. I felt invested in that story. I felt invested in the siblings. It was, yeah, it's one that I definitely always go back to. One of the older ones that really, really has a place in my heart.
Mm, awesome. That's always good to know because there's a lot of people that don't remember the classics like Brett and Owen, and like if you tell them about ladder matches, they always talk about that match and this match. I always think about the Kings did ladder match in WWE, Razor and Shawn. It's like we always, I always think of them. Most of the kids I know always think of the the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian, and that's an awesome match to bring up as a memory of the ladder
Oh
match, but.
yeah,
Razor and Sean always go, these kids don't know. Like,
yeah, hundred
yeah.
percent.
So,
Yeah.
like, how far are you willing? How far have you traveled when you go to your wrestling shows? And do you always pack a lunch before you go to your shows?
I'm the worst person for food and meal prep, so I absolutely do not. The closest I get is going to like a local shopping, like a local supermarket, and getting like that kind of prepackaged food. That's the best I get. We do have a lot of places here that cater at shows, so a lot of people know that they're going to be fed on show. Um, but yeah, I do travel quite a bit. I think so far the furthest I've traveled is about a 6 hour drive from Melbourne, where my home is, in a little town called Mildura, which is like a country town right on the border of Victoria and New South Wales. That's sort of the furthest I've gone so far. I have been booked to later in the year do a show in Sydney, which is super exciting, an all girls show in
Wow,
Sydney.
Sydney, Australia.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, so Sydney's probably
Send
about a
me
12-hour
pictures. I gotta
drive.
see Sydney, Australia.
Hey,
Send me pictures. I gotta see
oh,
pictures of Sydney, Australia.
absolutely, I will. I will. I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be my first interstate booking, which is super
Tell
exciting.
them. Tell them you were.
Um,
Tell the wrestlers to. Oh, I got interviewed by dudes at Ringside. You got to hit them up for interviews because I love interviewing Australian wrestlers because
absolutely,
they're so like
absolutely.
I miss really getting a lot of Australian wrestlers because I'd message people and it's like I get British people that I message people from the States, but Australian wrestlers, a lot of them don't message people back. I don't get it.
I think a lot of them feel a bit intimidated by the international platform. I think a lot of
Mm,
them are happy in their local little bubble. Um, but they also have got to remember, like, it doesn't matter whether it's an Australian podcast or an American podcast. Like, exposure is exposure for the both of us. Like, this is something I preach a lot, and I know that it falls on a lot of deaf ears because wrestling is wrestling and it is quite clicky. But I believe that we shouldn't be clicky. We should be a community. We should all work together. You can help us and we can help you. It's a collective. And I feel like more people need to see that. And that's something that I really want to work towards and really want to push towards. And that's why I've made so many big leaps and bounds in career progression in my 4 years here. I've done much more than people have done 4 years wrestling. And that's because we all have the passion for this. We all love this, but I understand that we need to work together. And I've been breaking those boundaries. And I work with basically everybody in Melbourne, from the indiest of the indies to now the biggest productions in Melbourne, all because of my willingness to help no matter what, my understanding of being a community and not just a bunch of clicks in a promotion. And I think, even myself, like I think it started with Elaine Hope as far as the girls go, and now moving into, other girls you've interviewed for us. I think we're we're the ones that can sort of break those cliques because it is a very sort of male dominated industry here still. And it
yeah.
is still very like the boys club here. And having us girls move from the indies into the bigger leagues and open those doors and bring that friendly opening, like us all girls, we just want to work together and be a community, and we're bringing that vibe into these promotions, and it's really helping people understand. And Australian wrestling is growing and it's only getting better and better. Um, and yeah, I genuinely think like I absolutely will be pushing people to reach out to you because, every opportunity is a good opportunity to get your name out there.
Yeah.
And you do a great podcast. I've watched a few episodes. Like you really get to the nitty gritty of it, and people love telling their story, and it's a
That's what I
perfect
love doing.
platform for that.
Like, I like to write, and I'm an artist. I created my own character when I was like 16 years old, and he grew up with me. It's just people keep a character like Shazam. He's a 5'9" beast of a muscle guy. He started out as a 16-year-old kid that got struck by lightning in a Boy Scout camp, and then he eventually lost his powers unknowing of him because I guess somebody told me it's puberty. I'm like, yeah, it was puberty. Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And he learned how
Ruins
to fight,
everything.
and then he got older, went to college, and then everybody was trying to, where do you go at night? And he's like, I don't know, out to the bars. But he was really fighting crime in in
Yep.
in in college, going out to fight bad guys. And then he heard something. Then I started listening to the bands like Tool, and you know where my brain went. Tool and like
Yep.
Metallica and Marilyn Manson. You know, my brain went dark and twisted.
Yeah.
Corn. My brain went into like listening to Dead Bodies Everywhere and Freak on a Leash and the song by Tool, it's 46 and 2. And you know, my brain
Yeah.
went into like a dark, scary place. And I had my character give up on being a superhero like Spider-Man. He hears something going on. He hears someone struggling. He goes downstairs, he gets caught, he gets killed, and they bring the dark side brings him back as one of their like
Oh.
dark. He's like a take on Spawn and the Crow. Put in the
Yep.
same
Okay.
thing. He can't die. He doesn't know him. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who
Yeah.
he is. He just knows his name is the Bolt. That's
Yeah.
it. And he knows he's one badass motherfucker.
Yes.
He's a
That's what you have to know.
badass motherfucker.
You have to know that.
And
I love
he
that.
wears a cool ass outfit. Wears all
Yeah.
black with like these metal arms up to his elbows, and they're like claw like things. And he doesn't use guns anymore because he died by a gun, so his brain immediately goes into like
Yeah.
like a cat looking at a
Everybody
bathtub.
has a weakness. Everyone has a weakness.
It's not his weakness. He just goes, I know something happened with
Ah.
those. I know something happened with
Ah.
those, and I can't use that. So he has a
Yeah.
BA chain in his jacket.
Mhm.
He has a power with his chain in his brain that he can literally just do this. And the chain will come
Hey.
slithering out of his jacket like a boa, and it just goes, and it'll go around the person. And this is a creepy, dark story. It won't hold back. It'll just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, and then it'll just
Like a python.
you see it. You send the Bolt in to do go get these guys. It's gonna be like RoboCop all over again.
Yeah.
It ain't.
Nice.
There's gonna be a lot of dead. The first part of my story, these people are robbing the bank, and all of a sudden, he comes down. His chain comes down, grabs one guy, throws guy on the top of the building, and he comes down, lands behind the guy, stares at the guy. The guy turns like, "What the hell?" Turns around. The guy unloads a clip into the Bolt, and the Bolt just goes and
Yeah.
just snaps him and throws him to the side, and then jumps back on top of the building to the other guy. And then he doesn't kill him. He just goes, he's like Batman style. Who are you? Just drops him and just, yep.
Bye.
That's my character.
So cool.
My friend's like, why didn't he kill that guy? Evidence.
Yes.
And the Bolt
Smarter,
has
not
this thing in
harder.
him that if you didn't do anything wrong, he doesn't have to kill you.
Ah, I like that.
He wasn't the guy that he threw, was the watch out. So he wasn't committing the crime and breaking into the bank. He was watching.
Yeah.
He was lookout. So he wasn't doing that.
He wasn't actively in it. Yeah. Like
He wasn't
actively
actively
hands-on in
doing
the safe.
it. So yeah. so like you said, you don't when you go back to wrestling, bolt, go back to your hole. Like when it comes to like when you're at the show, when you're not doing matches and you're breaking, like you're just relaxing, do you get a chance to watch any of the action, or you just like you're just studying, doing other things?
So for me, I never stop. I'm the type of person at a show that I'm the go-to person. I understand there's gaps to fill, and I like to call myself the gap filler. So say whether it's the promoter or one of the staff members needs help, they can come to me and I can get it sorted. I can, so they don't have to leave their stations. I can run around and do things. I'm constantly moving, always. In saying that though, I do where I can stop and watch. I do like to you know, not only these people talented wrestlers, they're also now my friends. I support my friends. I like to watch them. I like to give my friends feedback. I like to check on my friends if they're hurt in matches. So I always watch. When I'm announcing, absolutely, because I'm sitting ringside, I have the perfect opportunity to sit and watch. When I'm running around on show doing the behind the scenes stuff, I watch as much as I can while I'm not needed. Perfect example is it's not a spoiler anymore because it happened 2 nights ago and it's all over social media. One of my favorite people in Australian wrestling, Erica Reed, got her biggest belt of her career,
Oh yeah, Erica Reed,
taking
that's
the
the one that has the thing, white lines under her by her eyes, right?
yes, yep,
I've
yes,
been
yep.
dying
So
to have
that
her on the pod. Oh my
yeah.
god. I think
So
she's
she's that
amazing.
green time voodoo witch. She's so the face paint comes from her mob and her culture as an Aboriginal woman. So
Ooh,
she's definitely what do you need to have on to tell her story because she has amazing stories about her culture and her mobs. But I got to stand with a few of the crew and a couple of the people like higher up in Melbourne City Wrestling, and we watched Erica's match, and it was versus Delta. And because it was high stakes, there was a stipulation added that it became a triple threat. And Cherry Stevens was added to the mix. So it was Delta, Cherry Stevens, and Erica Reed, three of some of the best in Australia right now. And it was a phenomenal match.
a
And
banger.
really, yeah, ridiculously good banger. And Erica Reed took the belts, and us crew that were all standing there, tears, absolute hysteria of excitement and joy to watch somebody who's put in the work, who deserves this, to take that title. And obviously she's crying, we're crying. And then I remember that her dad's driven down 12 hours to see her match tonight. And then she goes ringside to hug her dad, and then we all go harder. Um, I'm always watching. I'm always supporting my friends. I cry when big things happen. I check on them when they're injured. I'm always watching. And I'm making some big business moves at the moment, moving into MCW and a bigger promotion that's just started named OPW. Like I'm moving into these bigger
Ooh.
roles. And with those roles, I now have to watch harder. So I already do scout, but it looks like I'll be like, keeping my eyes out harder. But I also like learning the stories, especially if I'm on a show announcing. I want to announce in a way that's going to help tell that story.
Mm, awesome. So definitely tell the so what's the promotion you said in the new promotion?
OPW,
Definitely
Oceania
tell
Pro
them.
Wrestling.
Tell them about the podcast. I would definitely like to have the promoter or the owner on the podcast because that I love promoting people and new promotions that the American fans that could get their hands on and start to watch on the internet. So
And
yeah.
especially with Oceania, we have like we've already shown twice our partnership with TNA. So OPW did a show last year in Wagga Wagga, which is a little country town interstate.
That
And
is
it was
such a cute name. Oh my god. Wugga
yeah,
Wugga.
oh, we got some weird names. So yep, WAGGA, Wagga Wagga. Um,
It's like something out of The Simpsons, like Homer's going honk honk.
Wagga Wagga.
Wugga
Oh, Fuzzy
Wugga.
Bear, Waka Waka.
My
Um,
mom's gotta make that out of a clip on the podcast. Wugga Wugga.
Yeah, absolutely, like Fozzie Bear. So they've got a partnership with TNA. So they bought TNA over first and foremost, and then they added Oceania to the show to showcase the promotion and bring it into the eyes. And then I don't know if you saw about a month ago we did Starcast Australia. So we had Starcast come down and we had a convention. We had a mix of TNA wrestlers. Um, and a couple of other promotions, GCW and stuff like that. We had Mickey James her show. So Mickey James put
Ooh,
on a women's only show for us on the first night, and then the second night was Bret Hart's Australian Stampede show.
what?
Um, yeah, it was insane. So I spent that weekend getting to meet the people I grew up watching. I got to spend time with Bret Hart and hang out with him and maybe smoke a little bit of weed with him. I got to
Ooh,
hang out with the likes of Shelton Benjamin and Chris Masters and Jason Alexander. Josh Alexander. Um,
Jason Alexander.
uh,
Oh no.
no, Josh Alexander. My sincerest apologies. Like I said, my brain is fried from a big weekend. Who
Okay.
else did we have? The Great Khali,
Oh
um,
wow.
JT and Tufan Singh from India. They were amazing. We had Eric Bischoff down, Jody Threat, Steph DeLanda and Mance Warner. Um, SoCal Val, Victoria, Lisa Marie Varon.
Wow, you had the
Who else we
stunt.
had?
You had the all-star roster. I've been trying to
Yeah,
talk
it
to
was
SoCal
massive.
Val too. I heard she's a sweetheart.
Oh, she's the sweetest woman you'll ever speak to. Absolutely. And then we had that show, that her show had formerly known as Alicia Fox. She re-debuted as Vix Crow and had her first match back in Lord knows how long. And it was so amazing to have Foxy back in the ring. And all of those people were just so amazing. And it was surreal to me to spend, a week with all of them, getting to, make new friends in Lizzie Evo from the UK and, make friends with all of these people, have some silly laughs, get up to some shenanigans. It was an amazing weekend. I never thought I'd see the day that I'd be backstage, like talent liaising with these people, keeping them safe backstage. Like my job at StarCast was just that, going around talent liaising, making sure that who was supposed to be backstage was and who wasn't, putting, making sure people weren't, hassling talent or anything like that. And I made some really amazing connections through that. And a month prior to that, I met Victor Benjamin and Lady Frost from AEW, and I took them out to
Another
Ballarat
good name.
Wildlife Park. Yeah, I took them out to Ballarat Wildlife Park on a whim. I was just like, hey, do you guys want to go pet kangaroos? I'll take you here. And they trusted me to take them, and I gave them an amazing day. They got to go hold koalas and pet kangaroos, and it's so surreal to me that everything I've ever dreamed of as a child has started to happen all in just this year. It's so
Wow.
wild. But yeah, it's so much fun. But yeah,
Awesome.
OPW is definitely one to watch because we do have that international collaboration.
Awesome. So if my fans wanted to follow you on social media or like if you have any upcoming shows, let's talk about it before we go.
Yeah, so we have a show in Seaford, Victoria, this Friday, Adrenaline Pro Wrestling Breakout 41. We also have PCW Ignition on Saturday, in Ferntree Gully at the Southeastern Entertainment Centre, or the SEC. I'll be announcing that one. There's also, I won't be there, but there's another show called Alpha Pro Wrestling. They'll be running out of Pipeworks in Thomastown in Victoria. They're another one to watch, so definitely go and show them. Support your friends, always support your friends. So they're the three big ones on this weekend in Melbourne. I am Gem the Wrestler on everything. So Facebook, not Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they're my two main ones that I use. Um, and yeah, basically just catch me at your next show. I'm probably going to be there.
I really hope you can come to the States one day, Jem. It would be nice to meet you in person and keep up,
I'm
talk to
planning on
you. Or
it.
I'm definitely gonna like after we get the interview, I'm gonna like I want to send you some dudes at Ringside goodies. I'm sending you some stickers. So
Absolutely. I will get the word out for you, I promise. If anybody can do it, it's wrestling's most precious jewel,
oh
gemstone.
my gosh, that is such a lovely name. Definitely give this video a like. Definitely give Jem a awesome Jem Kira Nice follow on all of her social medias. I'm Joe Panther the Third. Your turn.
I'm Gemstone.
And we will catch you in the next one.